Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to In Another Thing. I'm your host, Shalako. Thanks for joining me again. And in case you don't remember, I am a filmmaker. I am a content creator. I am someone who has been in this game for decades now and really had to navigate the highs and the lows and pretty much everything in between. And I really wanted to talk about something that's important, something a lot of people have been whispering about and talking about behind closed doors, something that filmmakers are kind of feeling and that they're a little bit worried about themselves. And the question that they're having is minority filmmakers like even being supported now. They're wondering, I'm wondering, has the momentum we saw in 2020 completely faded or if it really even existed in the first place? So, you know what? Let's talk about it. After the events of 2020, the George Floyd situation, Hollywood went into what I like to call the inclusion rush, where every studio, almost every streaming service, every brand had a statement, a pledge, a fund, a fellowship, a pipeline program, anything they wanted that they could put out to say, hey, we're allies. Suddenly, everybody kind of wanted to be on the right side of history. And for a moment, like a real moment, though, it did feel like an opportunity was finally expanding for minority filmmakers. Netflix launched the Fund for Creative Equity. Disney was expanding its launch program, its Launchpad program. Warner Brothers were opening up more diversity, writing and directing programs. And then a lot of the major agencies were like signing new minority filmmakers and talent. And you were able to get more pitch meetings. You had general meetings. You had development deals. Like it felt like there was a door that had opened. But still, the question was this a permanent shift or was this like just a temporary reaction to a tragedy, basically? So, what I want to do is just kind of even fast forward to today and we kind of look at the landscape of things and look how things are looking a little bit different now. Like a lot of those programs were quietly shut down. The DEI leadership were either downsized or they were let go, they were eliminated. The diversity budgets were reduced or they were eliminated. The pipeline initiatives, they kind of folded into like general programming, which pretty much means that we're not investing anymore. The messages kind of went from we're committed to change to we're restructuring to pretty much nothing at all. So if you're a minority filmmaker, you're probably feeling that shift right now. So, I just wanted to spend some time to talk about like what that looks like right now. So many of the programs that were created after 2020 really barely survived 2 years. Studios stopped announcing them. The web pages like pretty much just kind of disappeared. The staff that were leading the initiatives and leading the change, they were laid off. Like it really wasn't like a big, noisy, loud thing. It was just real quiet. It wasn't public. It was just like a little reversal that no one really paid attention to at the time. What also started to happen was that streaming platforms were cutting costs. Even with their subscription prices were going up, studios were making fewer shows and then fewer films, even though there's like a more landscape for these projects. The green lights were getting harder to get. And the truth is, when the industry shrinks, minority filmmakers are like the first to lose opportunities because they were the last pretty much to be invited to the party to begin with. When the money gets tight, studios become what's called risk adverse. They go back to what they know, which is the big IPs, franchises, makes, equals, just a lot of nostalgia stuff that people will go to the theater to see because they kind of know about it. Like original stories, especially minority led original stories, like they're labeled a little bit to be too risky. They're either too niche or they're like just really not a global enough story for them to what they think is to make money off of it. Also got smaller. Directing slots tightened. The production budgets, as I mentioned earlier, they shrank or either went away. And the people who usually get squeezed out first are the first time minority writers, the first time minority directors, the new minority showrunners, independent minority filmmakers just trying to break in. And it's not always intentional, but it's structural. General meetings aren't happening like they used to. Even established minority filmmakers are reporting that they're getting fewer pitch opportunities. Development deals are either paused or they're canceled. Scripts which were being read in 2020 and 2021, 2022, like they're basically just been kind of shelved now. They're on the boxes now and nothing's really happening to them. They're getting lower budgets, like I mentioned earlier. You'll hear things like, we love the script, but can you shoot it for half the budget? Or we can't find this level of talent right now. And then a lot of like filmmakers that I've spoken to are getting pressured into doing trauma stories because trauma sells. Like when sometimes when things get tight, the industry defaults to what it knows. And trauma-based stories about minority communities, those sell. So like if you have a script that's about joy, success, sci-fi, romance, or innovation, the feedback might be, we don't know where this fits. So the reason why I think this pullback is dangerous for minority filmmakers, and let me be clear, this isn't about jobs or credits. It's really about the culture. Like who gets to tell the stories that impact generations. Like when minority filmmakers kind of lose support, you know, our stories stop evolving. New voices don't get heard or get discovered. Stereotypes get recycled. Kids stop seeing themselves in aspirational roles. The industry slides backwards. It creates a false narrative that diversity push didn't work when the truth is, like, it wasn't given enough time to work, it wasn't given enough resources to work, and it wasn't enough like institutional power. Like the power wasn't standing behind it more for it to work. Like there just wasn't a long-term strategy, and it was just kind of a short-term PR response to a tragedy that happened and that everyone was reacting to. So the question is the support truly gone, or is it really gone? Well, here's where I kind of want to be fair and in balance when I look at it though, because support for minority filmmakers is not completely gone. It is moving, shifting, it's changing the shape, but the big studios they're pulling back, but support in other areas is growing. Like indie film is seeing a revival, documentaries are seeing a revival, independent cinema is becoming a major home for minority voices again. There's some niche streamers out there and there's some niche global platforms. They're targeting multicultural audiences and they're expanding. International co-productions, like minorities are finding success partnering with companies in Africa, the UK, the Caribbean, Latin America, and even some in Europe. There's community funding and then there's crowdsourced projects. Crowdfunding, Patron, YouTube memberships are giving creatives like direct audience support. There's basically new Black owned and minority owned production houses. Of course, we already know about Tyler Perry, so no need to talk about him. But there's other creators that are coming up as well. They're building their own lanes, like instead of waiting for Hollywood's permission. So the support is not gone. It's just not coming from where people expect it now. It's not coming from where it was promised. So if you're a minority filmmaker, what can you do right now? Well, this is the part where people usually ask me like, so what's the solution? What do we do right now? So I tell them from my research and what I've seen is that you need to build outside the system, create shorts, pilots, and proof of concept independently. You own your own IP. You look at people like Issa Rae. You look at people like Quentin Brunson. You look at like early Donald Glover stuff. You just kind of build your own audience directly. If there's a loyal online community, they can change your life because then the studio sees that you've already created your own audience. Let's start collaborating with other filmmakers, with other minority filmmakers. Share your resources, share your knowledge, share your opportunities. And then there are still some programs that are around, so be sure to apply to those programs from Sundance, Tribeca. There's programs for Firelight Media. Black House has programs. Array has programs. Like a lot of these programs have been around for a while, and they are mission driven and not trend driven. Also try and create what they don't expect. Make a sci-fi, make a romance, make a comedy, make a thriller, make something that's world building. Tell stories that expand the universe, like with minority characters and what minority characters can do and what they can be. So if I had one message for Hollywood, it would pretty much be you can't say diversity matters only when it's popular. You can't say it only when it's profitable, and you definitely shouldn't say it only when it's convenient. Like you can't make minority stories for optics, but then refuse to fund minority creators long term. Representation, it's not a phase, it's not a trend, it's not a moment. It's really a responsibility for everyone because it's a big world, man, and we have a lot of voices, we have a lot of stories, and the industry has to be responsible, and minority filmmakers, they will build the systems that can create that responsibility. So to wrap this up, once again we go back to the question, are minority filmmakers no longer being supported? And the answer to that is not the way they were promised, and definitely not nearly enough. Minority filmmakers aren't powerless in this though, so that's the good news. Like, we're resourceful, we're visionary, we're creative, we create culture, we create possibility, we create entire movements. Hollywood could pull back, but that doesn't mean the filmmaker himself has to pull back as well. You have to basically be able to adapt. You have to be able to build. You can just tell your stories anyway, and it doesn't have to be trauma porn. The world needs to hear these voices, and the people of the future deserve to hear these voices. The kids deserve to hear these voices. Who next in line deserve to hear these voices. So I just want to say thank you for joining me. If anything I said offended you, or if you wanted to add to it, please leave a comment, reach out to me, and let's talk about it. And then let's continue to keep creating our lanes, and keep owning our own narrative, and keep telling our own stories. Thanks for checking out In Another Thing. I'll talk to you soon.